This is the Stubborn German Podcast, coming to you from the beautiful and very ambient Stubborn German Brewing Company here in equally as busy Waterloo, Illinois. I'm Kevin Ostie, joined by the proprietor of the Stubborn German Podcast and the brewery, Mr. Chris Ron.
Hey, Kevin, what's going on?
Oh, hear everything, apparently.
Lots of stuff today.
We're also joined by our esteemed producer, Mr. Jared Chasson.
Good evening. It's hopping in here.
It is hopping in?
Hopping in.
What's hopping?
Hopping in.
Yes. And our very special guest, Mr. Kermit Constantine. Welcome.
V. Gates.
V. Gates.
Guten Abend.
He's practicing, Chris.
Yeah.
I studied.
Did you brush up?
Thank you for inviting me to the Codcast.
Yes.
I just had to get it. Codcast, not podcast. Codcast.
Yeah, it's a fishing
Podcast.
show now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fishing show.
So
Okay.
we, before we, bury ourselves too far into this nonsense, we have a game here. It's a challenge, Kermit. It's called the German word of the day.
I've studied the dictionary. I'm ready.
Oh, good. Okay.
See, he's got a leg up because he spent time in Germany.
4
Yeah,
years.
this isn't good.
Man, we're in trouble.
I hope you brought the 5-year words
Ich
out.
spreche ein bisschen Deutsch.
Hold on. Let me find a
Wow.
different one.
Look for some longer with less
I
space.
want a
Yes.
harder one.
Okay. I'm going to go with the original one. That word is Zeitung.
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 Well, Kevin, we like to be polite here on this podcast.
We do.
So, Kermit, why don't you go first?
Sure. I know this one.
Uh-oh.
I do. It's telescope.
Telescope.
Wow. I was going to say that.
Zeitung. Come on.
Kermit.
Zeitung.
Telescope.
Okay.
Zeitung.
There's sight tube. There you go.
That's very good. Okay.
Chris is pivoting on the fly here.
Telescope.
He's typing over
Yeah, I
there.
know. Okay. Jared, Kevin, either of you?
Jared?
I mean, if it's not telescope, it's probably, I'm going to say, sight reading.
Sight reading.
Like a musician that sight reads.
I like that, but I
Sight
think it's
read.
wrong.
Okay.
There you go.
And Kevin, what does Zeitung mean?
Strep throat.
Strep
throat. It's going around.
Perfect.
It's not actually, not that I know.
Is it?
I don't have it.
Okay,
Or
great.
strep tongue, actually. Is
All of your votes have been tabulated, and we will get to the results at the end of this magnificent podcast.
right.
Have we ever had anyone say, I know this one?
I don't think anyone has ever
the
said,
first.
I know this one.
The one, I didn't say that, but I felt it.
He knew.
You were
yes.
pretty,
Yeah. So, for those who are listening in other parts of the globe, our esteemed guest, Mr. Kermit Constantine, is our local newspaper guy
Yes.
and
Yeah.
a good friend of the community and good friend of ours.
big part of the community.
Thank you.
For sure, yeah.
And all around good dude.
As all of you are. Although
thank you, thank you.
I don't know Jared.
He's uncertain about
Well,
me at this
we
point.
are too, actually.
He's got a
okay.
good-looking beard.
I
He's
get
a
it.
strong-looking guy. I think he's all right.
He speaks Canadian.
And he
Yeah.
speaks Canadian. Sachant.
There is that.
Yeah. And I'm Cajun, and he's French, so I think
Yeah.
this will work.
It's close enough.
Yeah, it'll work out just fine. So, Kermit, you're originally... Are you? Let me see if I get this right from memory. Are you originally from Southern California? Is that?
That's correct.
And
San
then-
Bernardino County.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, San Bernardino. And so the big question is, how does a guy from San Bernardino County end up being in the newspaper business in Waterloo, Illinois?
Good question, Kevin. Good question. 20 years in the Air Force, 11 of those Scott Air Force Base.
Ah,
Sweet.
So first assignment, last assignment. Last assignment, married a gal from Waterloo, Laura May. May family, Roy May Insurance.
sure.
Big time family. And that's how I found Waterloo. But I was here probably in the, 1974. I drove through Waterloo because I drove the Great River Road
Oh, cool.
from Columbia to Memphis.
So I was
I
wondering
know-
what those signs are for. They
I-
go all the way to Memphis?
Exactly. I passed through Waterloo.
Nice.
But I mean, probably later on when I saw Waterloo after meeting Laura, this was a Norman Rockwell kind of community. It's just beautiful, And we ended up buying a house at the original four-way stop. So before the bypass, people, there was, you came right through Waterloo on Route 3, and we were at the four-way stop, 4th Street and South Market.
Yep. And there's a possibility that with all of your time at Scott, you might have been through this area anyway. Scott Air Force Base isn't very far from here.
I know I came to Columbia a couple times. There was a German restaurant, Edelweiss.
And I have not been.
Right. No, I mean, it's long gone. I'm trying to remember exactly where it was, but I think it was where the Thai house may have been.
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. And I had a friend that grew up here, and he worked there, and he said, German restaurant, yes, but fried chicken was the major seller.
Well, that's a thing around here.
Can you believe it?
Right. No way.
Gallagher sells more fried chicken than probably aged steak.
Than KFC, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Kind of a little parallel there because similar to you, my wife's from Waterloo, and that's how I ended up here, too. So
there you go.
Thank you guys for settling here. And
correct, yeah.
I was going to be
easy.
here anyway. So.
It's easy, yeah. It's a great community.
Yeah, once you live here, you don't want to really be anywhere else. It's great. So your stint of 20 years, so that's a career guy in the Air Force.
Absolutely. So, yeah, the first year was starting at Scott in 74, leaving in 77 to go to Deutschland, Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Spent 4 years there, and then the last assignment was I returned from Eastern Turkey back to Scott and finished my career here. So,
Gotcha.
That's cool.
So what was your specialty in the Air Force?
So, now I'm running a newspaper, but my career field was command and control. Command and control is where all the information of a base or a battlefield operation comes into the command post, is disseminated to the command post, and then the leaders are actually directing what's going on next. So it could be a natural disaster. It could be let's say a warehouse fire, and they all meet at the command post and they start directing action from the command post. And I was in Military Airlift Command, which is a global mission, and airplanes all around the world, locations all around the world, and we were in the management of that. So it's a lot of fact gathering, reporting.
See where this is going.
Yeah.
Similar to the newspaper business.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, wait, so you're telling me you had that app on your phone back in the 70s that can say where every airplane in the world is going? That's awesome.
So the first assignment was Scott Air Force Base. We had a global map that was not 2 stories, maybe a story and a half.
Wow.
And you moved placards on a ladder.
There you go.
But we were starting to get those first computers, call them a desktop, but we had computers, and we were flight following aircraft all around the world. And from that, there's measurements of how well did we do. This was a deployment. Did we move the supplies and the personnel in a timely manner? And that was the measurement that they were using. And that's what a command post guy did. He gathered those facts and reported them.
The right stuff to the right place at the right time.
Right. Exactly.
That's all very interesting, but I want to know all about your time in Germany.
That's right.
Come on.
So, 4 years in Germany, and, so I you learn the words that you need to get by.
Yeah.
And
obviously you didn't learn Saiton.
Of the day, yeah.
I took one college German class, and it got me by. So I could go into a Gasthaus or a beer house like this.
Eine Bier.
And not, eine Bier, zwei Bier, drei Bier, vier Bier. How many it took to get. But, those are the things that you learn to kind of assimilate into the German society. I lived in a village that was about, it was probably a 30-minute drive from the base.
Gotcha.
So, Grandma, lived right, it was a 3-story house, probably a 200-year-old structure.
Wow.
And the first floor was a beauty salon with a lot of young ladies working, and, we didn't have a bathroom on our third floor apartment, so we would have to wait until the beauty salon was closed before we took a bath.
Oh my gosh!
But
It's better than taking a leak.
the fun thing was going.
Well, they have windows for that, Kevin.
The highlight was paying the rent. And I would practice my German words, and then I would go into the salon, and they're all the, you walk in and they know you're the American guy living on the third floor, and they would stop, and then they would want you to perform, and you were trying your best German words to say, I'm here to pay the rent, and they would giggle and all that. But I always was like I am here, I'm a good neighbor, and I would, when it snowed and I was not on duty, I would shovel the sidewalk.
Yeah.
They had a second floor patio. I scrubbed the patio and made it. It was nasty. I made it clean. They loved it, and it was, and it's all about being an ambassador to the country you're in.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Now, did you develop a taste for German beer while you were over there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And was that new for you, or had you already been in the
good thing
craft beer kind
no,
of thing?
I'm one of those guys that I will try anything once, and if I like it, I will keep trying it. I just had sashimi last night at Sushi AI. Other than buying, the rolls, which are, that's like eating candy. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to try that. So yeah, I would try anything that was available, and they would deliver a case of beer just like the milkman at your doorstep.
Oh man, you need to do that.
At your doorstep, a case of, and it would not get stolen.
Really?
Never.
Oh, that's because I wasn't there.
It's a new business model, Chris.
Let's
do this.
You can do it. You can do it.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
It's a terrific idea.
It sounds awesome, but
you could have we've been talking about whatever the vehicle is going to be for the Stubborn German.
Right, right.
This place needs a shop truck, if you will.
Yes.
And, we were looking at like some of those like mid-50s Mercedes-Benz ramp trucks and box vans and stuff, with the Stubborn German logo on it. So that could just follow the milk truck around and drop off cases of beer.
Here's your milk, here's your beer.
Right.
I'm thinking a 79 Dodge conversion van might be the perfect.
Might just do it, huh?
That we could do a pilot run with that.
Here's a story. So you live in a village, and the apartment we rented had like a little dorm refrigerator. So, and that's how they live. They went and got stuff they needed for the day or maybe the next couple days. And we were having a cookout, so we were inviting some GIs over to the house. And I go to the bakery, and I had practiced what I was going to say, and I said, "Ich möchte 12 Brötchen." So that means I want 12 buns. And the guy looks at me and goes, "You want a baker's dozen?" I'm like, what? And he was a prisoner of war during World War II over in the United States. Just like we had prisoners of war right here in Waterloo.
Yeah.
Right here in Waterloo. And they farmed those guys out. They were happy to help the farmers in Monroe County. So I was like, wow. Small world.
Yeah.
Do you think that's where that term "farm them out" came from?
Farm them out.
I'll go with that.
Sure. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So that small refrigerator with their meals on demand coincides with the room temperature beer concept that's also popular.
Right.
Correct?
Right. They would keep their beer in the cellar. So I never had an ice cold beer, and of course you've heard the term ugly American.
Sure.
So we would get, yes. So we would get buddies that were stationed in England, and they're like, "I didn't get ice in my Coke." Wow. It's like, yeah, that's the way it's served here in Germany, just like the beer. It's not room temperature, cellar temperature.
Slightly chilled, yeah.
I would work the Ramstein Air Base Air Show, which would draw easily 100,000 plus people. There would be NATO countries that brought their aerial teams, and you would watch until your neck hurt. And there'd be 5, 6, 7 air shows. But I worked the beer stand, one of the many beer stands, and it'd be in July, a cloudy German day, and German would come up, eine Bier, and you would go into the pull a liter bottle of beer out of the ice water, and you go 999, and he'd point to the cases behind you. Das Bier, das Bier.
Wow.
Okay, and we'd bring him the beer, and they were all happy. But the longest line of any air show would be at the reefer truck that had the American ice cream.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what the Germans wanted. They wanted that American ice cream. They would probably trade great products for American ice cream. and that would be...
That's interesting.
I lived next door to an Italian pizzeria, which is also kind of like this. It was a Gasthaus environment. And the OSI guy would come and go, "Are you trading in the black market?" It's like, well, no, of course not.
What do you got?
You know, it's like, yes, I would. You know, a Hershey bar would get me a bottle of schnapps. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Never would say, never admit to anything. But yeah,
Sure.
we traded all the time.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
I could buy a bottle of Jack Daniels for $3. But that's 1977.
Yeah, different time.
Exactly.
So now where you lived, you said it was close to the base, but what city are we talking about?
It was Schonenberg, Kugelberg. So probably, I'll say 25 miles from the French border.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, I'm just thinking 1977, this is like getting near the height of disco.
No, what it was the height of the Cold War. I mean, it was a scary time to be in Germany, and the first thing you do, the first week of indoctrination into the country is like you go through chemical training because the Russians were a mighty force, as we were, but they were that close. You were that close to the border.
You're right there.
I mean, the last 2 years of my assignment, I was 3 stories underground. It was a new facility, and it was a command and control facility, 3 stories underground. Could take a nuclear strike, and you were going to be okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were going to be okay if you were on job. But
Until you came out, but
right, exactly.
Don't peek your head out.
Until your dorm fridge ran out of
so my heart
roasts.
My heart leaps right now because as we feared the Russians in 1977 at the height of maybe not the height of the Cold War, but it was definitely on our minds every minute of every day that the Russians could do something that would involve us. And to see what's going on now in Ukraine, where Ukrainians were a very, very peaceful people who have been tromped on many times through history, and now how they are holding the Russians at bay.
Yes.
Because you've seen 40, 50 years of corruption in the Communist Party of Russia. So I didn't want to get political, but I just had to say that. It makes me feel better. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
good.
that's all
I know
good,
it's not
man.
a political podcast, but
No.
Well, it is now. No.
absolutely.
So you do your 20 in the Air Force, and thank you for doing that for all of
Thanks
us
for your
here. We
service.
appreciate
Appreciate
that. As these guys know, I'm a big fan of the Air Force. My father was in the Air Force. We have
That's
several
right.
people on our staff at our shop that are retired Air Force Sarge, one of our top flight individual. And I've always found that it's interesting when you finally get to know people that have been in the different branches of the service. There are distinct differences, usually, not to generalize, but in personalities. And Air Force people and I, we've always gotten along. So,
Thank you.
yeah, that's cool.
It's true. I mean, over in Germany, working for the Air Force was pretty much kind of a 9 to 5. Although I worked shift work the whole time, and I was working a 14-hour mid shift, a 10-hour day shift, but still, I could go to the post office and I had a box and get my mail. Where the Army guys, which were always on the run, I would say on the run. They still had mail call where they had to show up at like 6 o'clock in the morning and get their mail.
Yeah.
It was just a difference between the two services, but God bless the Army because they were there. One of the neat things being in the command post was that I was a air rescue service. That was my specialty. So the Germans would call in the middle of the night and say, hey, we had an Autobahn crash, and we know the Autobahn is like no speed limit. So when there's a crash, it's awful.
Right.
So there's like, hey, where this crash is, you have a Army helicopter unit, and so then we work the coordination and get a helicopter there and pick them up and take them to a nearby hospital. So, but the Russians. And so that was me being the rescue guy, but I was at a tactical fighter wing. So they had F-4s, which are now F-15s, which are probably now F-18, or not 18s.
22s.
22s. There you go. Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. So they'd always have two birds on alert. And the Russians or the East Germans, they would launch, and radar would watch as they were approaching the west. And then it was a response time check. And we would launch two fighters to
readiness
intercept.
Drill, yeah.
And as soon as the fighters got up in the air and heading towards their location, they would turn their aircraft around. But sometimes it was a flock of geese, and they would never turn around.
Yeah, well,
just it's radar is it's not an exact science, but it's what you did back in that day, and that's again why you were always tense.
Yeah,
living in Germany, even though you could have good times, go to festivals, you were always tense. And that first week I was in Germany, I didn't know about volunteer fire departments. In the village I lived in, I had worked a mid-shift. I'm sleeping in my bed and hear the sirens, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should get under the bed, what I should do. But, yeah, I mean, it was a crazier time than, although it seems like it is getting a crazier time.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that, that perspective that you gained being over there, which I'm going to say was, pretty radically different from when you came back here.
Absolutely. So, yeah. My last overseas assignment was in Eastern Turkey. So, you hear about the Kurdish people and all that. In the area I lived in, there was a lot of Kurdish people. We didn't do anything without some kind of escort guy. Mm-hmm. And even maneuvering around the Turkish base, you had to have codes and flashlights. So you got to go do something on your site at 10 o'clock at night. Change out the crypto codes for communications. And you reach a checkpoint, and there's a young Turkish conscript, pointing a 50 millimeter machine gun at you, and you flash two colors on your flashlight, and he flashes two colors back, and that meant it was okay. But sometimes you flash the two colors, and it's like, and he flashes red back, and it's like, God damn, did he not get the code tonight, or do I have the wrong code?
Oh boy,
or is there a problem?
There is a problem. Yeah. And that happened every night. So,
man,
yeah, Turkey was this. I could do a podcast just on Turkey, but
you should start that.
The Turkish podcast.
Kermit on Turkey.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to. This is going to be my one and done.
Be wild.
This is my one and
Wild
done.
Turkey with Kermit.
Wild Turkey with Kermit. Oh, we even have a name. See,
there
now
you
you
go.
have to.
You guys are quick. You are very quick. I'm glad I went to Turkey and I'm done.
Yeah. Well,
so we could talk about your service time all night, and we probably should talk about your service time all night. I'm dying to know how you got into the Republic Times.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Sure. So I'm finished my 20 years, I get involved with a small business in Waterloo where I'm doing. It's in the floral industry. I'm doing supplies. I'm basically a route salesman. So I'm going door to door, town to town, and I'm seeing what it takes to be a small business owner, and how hard a small business owner works. Kevin, Chris, you guys, I'm not telling you anything, but these people are working their ass off. They're not just making pretty flower arrangements. They're working very hard. So I did that for 10 years. I finally went back to school and got my GI Bill, used my GI Bill to get a degree. And shortly after that, the guy that I was working for said, "Hey, Kermit, I'm going to downscale. I know you just got your degree. What are you going to do?" And I'm going to look for a new job. I'm probably going to look for a new job. He goes, "Well, look for it sooner than later."
Nice.
I got it. So
That's the heads up.
I did a little substitute teaching. I think Chris was not in school any. That was 2004.
No.
2005.
I was done with school.
Okay. Yeah.
You missed out.
So I did some substitute teaching for a
Just
little while.
barely, though.
I just missed.
Yeah.
Just by a couple of years.
But I joined the Republic Times as an advertising salesman in 2005. And then in 2007, after the editor of the paper kept telling the current owner, which was a company in Breeze, Illinois, the Millant family. They have a paper, they're third-generation newspaper people there. They said, "Well, if you think you can do it better, then you take it over, buy the paper." So this editor at the time gathered some. She was a very, I call her a butterfly. She knew a lot. She was out and about. I was sales. She was the editor, so she did a lot of that kind of connecting with people. And she gathered a group of people that said, "Yeah, we'll chip in and buy the paper." And so the first round of that didn't work out. Second round, they said, "We're not going to buy the paper unless Kermit is involved." I didn't know this. And it's like they came to me and they said, "We want you involved in this buy." So I am now a partner. There's 5 of us involved in the paper.
Awesome.
My wife said, "You are not going to do this." I said, "Yes, I am." Because it's all about challenges, right, Chris?
Sure.
Right, Kevin?
Absolutely, man.
I don't know if you're a small business guy, Jared, but I know these two guys are
Jared
small
loves a challenge, too.
I am
though.
not, but yes, I can appreciate it.
I've got extra challenges if anybody needs one.
So, I mean, you go
giving a
20
couple
years,
away.
20 years in the Air Force where you don't even worry about your security because it's taken care of. Medical,
Yeah.
all that.
Sure.
And you go into the unknown of getting to a small business and not knowing. I mean, I'm dyslexic. I couldn't get myself out of a 5th grade spelling bee, honestly. But you surround yourself with good people, you can make it happen. So in 2007, the paper was purchased, and unfortunately, it was not a good time to buy a business because the economy was tanking. There was a lot of, the bubble had burst. There was a lot of foreclosures on
2008 was
Yeah. I mean, the banks had overextended themselves.
And advertising is one of the first places they cut spending.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah, but you probably gained a whole page worth of foreclosure
We did.
material, right?
Chris,
That's good.
Chris, that saved our assets.
No way.
Wow.
It did.
I was being
Well,
an idiot.
finding
but
the
no,
bright
that's
spot.
great.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened was the competition. The suburban journals,
right.
the Clarion, they were purchased by Lee Corporation, which was a big company. Bought the Post for $1 billion, and the Post owned the suburban journals.
Really?
And they quickly started slash and cut. And when they went away, then it was just us and the Independent, and we divvied up the county. And, like I said, advertising was still a tough gig.
Sure.
But I pinched every freaking penny I could pinch, and we got through it. And then we ended up buying the Independent, and now we're doing very well.
Wow.
Well, that's awesome.
That's very cool.
there's a lot of meat there that's interesting. There's probably your third podcast you can start is all on the current state of media and journalism.
Absolutely.
Because nobody knows what the hell's going on there.
Right.
So we always saw Kermit running around and not only pitching advertising spots, but also shooting photos and doing whatever it takes.
I did whatever it took, and as an ad guy, the first thing I realized is I can get an advertiser to talk to me, but especially in an event type thing, I'm going to go and take the picture, and basically we were being pushed by the Independent at the time because Ed Wienhoff was everywhere. Ed was doing an excellent job of putting together a twice-a-month paper. We were doing a weekly paper. So it's like, I got to hustle as hard as him.
Sure.
To keep up with him, I got to hustle.
Yep.
So I have 2 sales reps. No. They sell an ad. No. They're not going to be at the event. They're going to expect the editorial folks to cover the event. And that's what got me as a crossover. I became ad. I could cross over into journalism. I can't write worth a hell, but I mean, I can do the color commentation, and the editorial guys take it over from there. So pictures, editorial comment, that kind of stuff. But it got me more and more involved with the paper. 2007 was a tremendous learning curve for me.
I bet.
Yeah, I mean, all the governmental forms you got to fill out. I mean, oh my God. And the partners that were involved were silent partners. They didn't want to be known. Mm-hmm. They didn't have anything to do with the paper. They were just the deep pockets that helped us get through this point.
So it's all on you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the working partner. They're the silent partner. So it pushes an individual to get as much knowledge as you can. And I know, first time I met Kevin, and I don't know if it's the first time, but he approached me after probably doing something over at Obie's. It was a Saturday morning. You guys would do those how's your car building going?
Yeah.
And he approached me and said, hey, Kermit, you probably should consider this. And he was talking stuff so far over my head.
Because that's how I feel when I talk to him.
Well, we were discussing ceilings.
Oh.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
That makes sense. You came from Hot Rod Magazine. You knew stuff that I was like, I don't know what he's talking about, but it sounds good. And, eventually we got there, but not at his speed and his level. It's just like meeting...
He was there before,
just like meeting you and Chris, meeting you and Tammy. I didn't do it as a newspaper guy, although we tried to get some advertising from him, but Tammy's pretty tough. We
know that.
My experience with the Rons when they were running Waterloo, Ron's Automotive.
Hometown, yeah. Uh-huh.
So I'm a St. Peter and Paul guy. I was the social outreach chairman, and we became St. Vincent de Paul. I worked a lot with Kelly Lurch, and when we needed somebody to fix a car that couldn't afford to fix a car, guess what we called on? Chris and Tammy.
The patron saints of car repair.
Right. We'd patch them back together again.
They did so many things.
You get what you pay for with Chris, though.
Right.
So.
That is correct.
So many people, they don't even realize what kind of help they provided the community.
Absolutely.
So that was my first introduction to Chris and Tammy. And then as a newspaper guy, Paul Hallborough, he's my one and done club. We come here every Friday. We have a beer and a bourbon, and we sometimes a second beer.
I was going to say it's more like a two and done.
Sometimes a second bourbon, but it started out as one and done.
Gotcha.
3 and 5.
When he saw this building, he said, "This is where we need to have a brewery. We need to have a brewery."
He was right.
It was a premonition that happened. God bless that man.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I guess.
He saw the future.
Saw the future, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's cool.
So today, the Republic Times it was fun to me to see the Independent and the Times to have both of those types of papers in this area, because talk about two totally different animals.
Right.
The Independent was great because
very social,
very social, and so I moved here in 05, so right when you started, I guess.
04, I think, was the Independent start. 04, 03.
Okay. Really? And I couldn't believe opening up an Independent at my in-laws' house and seeing photo after photo of like family get-togethers, and then
the chicken and beer dance,
but then also like the names and of all the people that crashed, and they're in the photos, and it's like, holy mackerel. Where I came from on the West Coast, you could never do that. But this was like it was like a personal guide.
Yeah, Get a year worth of that, and everybody in town.
Yeah. but quite honestly, the level of actual kind of news was offset by the social reporting. It was social media before there was digital social media. But then the Public Times provided coverage of news stories.
Yeah, here's what's actually happening in town.
Correct. Yeah. So it was an interesting mix to get them both. You were covered.
There are communities that they call them news deserts. Just like there's grocery deserts. I mean, there's communities that don't have a grocery store that you can just drive off to.
Yeah.
So to be blessed with, at the time it was the Suburban Journals, the Monroe County Independent, and the Republic Times in one county.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a blessing. And people don't realize that. I mean, when there's a story about Calumet, Illinois.
Calumet City.
So the school district superintendent retired with a $450,000. That was his annual pay because he hired it was nepotism at the highest. He was hiring, and so then they kept voting for his pay increases. And I mean, it was a school district no larger than Waterloo's.
That's how it works up there.
But
no one was there to report on it?
No one was there to report on it.
So no one knew.
That's right. And
Holy
that's
cow.
what happens when you have a news desert. There's no reporting of facts. No one to check what's
and if
going
you
on.
did report on it, you woke up wearing cement shoes at the bottom of the canal.
Right.
Swim with the fishes?
Yeah, we know they play hardball in that area.
Well, if it's worth $4.5 large a year,
Right.
All right, fine. I'll renew my subscription, Kermit. You got me. Fine.
And every time a person comes in or emails me with a renewal, I go, thank you for supporting community journalism. Mm-hmm. It's so important.
for sure.
So important.
And I don't know, in our house, of course we have a phone in our hand. We got laptops, got all these devices. You can click and find information, whether it's correct or not, or how much research went into it. That's another story, another debate. But there's something about just, I don't know, maybe I'm old-fashioned, I don't know, but like Tammy and I will sit there and just flip through the paper. And are you done with that part? Yeah, give it here. and we just look through the paper.
Well, I promised my editorial staff I would bring this up. We did a story about why are there litter boxes in the schools? Why are my tax dollars paying for litter boxes in the school?
Yeah.
Well, this is a story about furries that got exploded. They originated somewhere in Michigan, but it just swept
I remember reading that.
Country swept. So we had to do a story about it. So can you imagine?
And that was a thing. Huh?
Our young reporter calling.
Is that still a thing, by the way?
I'll get
Keep
to
going.
that.
I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
Settle down, Chris.
She called every school superintendent, and can you imagine? No, we don't have litter boxes in our high school hallways or bathrooms. But I mean, we had the rumor was rampant,
right?
And I mean, just 2 weeks ago, someone came in the office. What the hell am I hearing about litter boxes in the high school?
You need to find out.
I go, my God, man, we did a story about this 2 months ago. Why didn't you read it? But that is why we do what we do.
Yep.
It's that kind of riveting stuff, cat box, litter box in the high school.
You know how many people read that story? A lot. It had to be a lot.
Well, we do. I mean, we don't just do print. We do social media.
Right.
We push those stories out to Twitter, Facebook, for the people that don't subscribe, and we let them have a taste of the
Well, I was
story.
going to ask, when did the online paper really take off, and how has that changed things?
Long after I told him about it.
That's right.
Well,
You know what you should do, Kermit?
it's guys like Kevin that, like,
There's this thing called the internet.
that network. You network, and I'm an optimist, Waterloo optimist guy. I'm involved in several things, so I get to talk to a lot of different people. Kevin, maybe little light bulb. We need to do more.
So you're being serious? Kevin gave you the idea of
Kevin
going
lights a lot
online?
of light bulbs.
Wow.
Kevin's a light bulb lighter.
Planting a seed. That's all it is.
Yeah, that
for
was
sure.
our first conversation was actually
Wow.
standing on the sidewalk in front of the courthouse
Right
one
there
day.
in front of the courthouse.
Yeah, and I was talking to Kermit. I think I asked him who they were using for a CMS, for a content management system.
Which I didn't know what that meant.
Kermit's like,
Sure.
Oh, yeah, we use that.
It'd be like Chris asking me to help him brew some beer.
Yeah.
What?
and because that's the content management system. Today it's like a WordPress system. Back then that didn't really exist, and I was using one called Joomla, which is kind of on the downward spiral today, but at the time, and I thought it would be a perfect tool for the Republic Times to distribute information.
Sure.
But again, it was new and misunderstood, and so that was kind of the end of that conversation. But you got there, eventually, for sure.
Right. So, I mean, you do print, but you see how society is changing and how social media is becoming so important. And I raised 3 boys that never opened the newspaper. And it still tickles me when I'm out and about with my camera and I run into a group of kids and I pose them for a picture. Is this going to be in the newspaper? Knowing that they will never open a newspaper in their life.
Sure. Yeah.
But my 3 adult sons now are always up to speed on what's going on in Waterloo because they follow us on Facebook or see the email or they're on the website.
Yeah.
They don't subscribe. They don't have to. But they see what's going on.
Yeah. And a lot of people do that.
Right.
Although I still say there's something definitely cool about being in print.
That's our generation, Kevin. We like to hold the paper.
It's not even so much holding the paper, but it adds some legitimacy. Because
For sure.
somebody spent money and time to print a whole bunch of papers as opposed to I can publish an article online this second,
Yeah.
But there's this assumed level of checks and balances, and this got approved by a bunch of people to be able to print this.
It's kind of like being on the radio versus having your own podcast.
Kind of, yeah.
Like anybody can have a podcast.
See how it is, yeah.
So we are the problem.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it takes a lot of work to make a podcast sound as good as this one.
Oh, there
Well,
we go.
there you go, Jared.
I
Nice
think.
try.
Throwing Jared a bone. I like
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, I think today, obviously, people don't, read as many newspapers daily as they once did.
Right.
But anybody who sees something in print in the mass media, they think it's cool,
Right, and I mean, it's our business to check the facts. I mean, we don't run. I mean, there's, like I said, there's some stories I have right now that are bubbling, and we can't report on them, and we don't do Elliot Davis sensationalize. Although I respect the hell out of that guy, we don't do that until we have some facts, because A, you don't want to get sued, and you want to come across with a well-written story that tells the story.
If you read an article and you just have 20 questions right after that, then why'd I read that?
Right.
Well, but I do see the struggle, and it's kind of funny sometimes. I love the fact that you're a steward of journalism, and you want to present both sides and not release it until it's ready.
Right.
But a lot of times, you guys will release a story online, and then there's 50 comments afterwards, none of which have been researched.
or did they even read
And all they read was the headline or look at the picture.
They read the headline and they went off to the races.
Right, and to read that stuff, and a lot of
Those are
times the response from the paper is like, read the story.
Please read the story.
I mean, I stopped commenting because usually you're just going to just stir it up even more.
Yeah, you're probably best.
Just let it ride out.
Yep.
And move on to the next story.
And intelligent people see that and go, "Oh, they didn't read the article."
Right.
Right.
So let's talk about intelligent people.
Let's talk about me.
Well, no. Yeah. I mean, very, very intelligent people.
Yes.
Bill Ott. We have him as a columnist. He's a Mizzou journalism grad. This guy, when he started putting columns in it, and he's a columnist, so it means whatever he puts in the paper, it doesn't come back to the paper. It's just, this is his opinion.
Gotcha.
And I mean, when he first started putting columns in the paper, he started as writing letters to the editor after seeing a story, but I had more people calling and texting and emailing me. It's like, who is this guy? I love him. He's saying what I can't say.
Nice.
He has a more liberal persuasion. This is a very red county, but still he was talking some really good logic. And, we that's what a columnist does. We have Mark Tullis. He's been writing for us for years. He's more of a having a conversation with grandma at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
People love that as well. But
do you get inundated with people that want their opinion in the paper? Do you get a lot of that?
Write us a letter to the editor.
Yeah.
And we had a letter written to us not too long ago. It's like, sorry, you're way past the 500-word limit.
Oh, right.
So, you have to do that too. You have to check people.
Yeah.
Tighten it up, folks.
Yeah, we have to actually be able to put it in the paper.
Right. I can't give you a whole page just for your opinion.
You can take an ad out.
and that comes back. That's the word I use.
Yeah.
If you want a full page ad, put your opinion.
You can say whatever you want.
I'll sell you that $1,200 ad.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah. You bet.
So one of the promises of digital media was, years ago, the definition of a third world country was one that the people did not have a free press. And the government controlled all the information. And Russia, the Middle East,
they're not third world. They're
right.
But they're controlling the media.
Well, yeah. So then when digital media comes out, there's the promise that everybody can have a voice. And I think we saw some really interesting stuff during the time of the Arab Spring is a good example.
Very good.
Right? So people are using Twitter to literally change their whole society.
Right.
And then it kind of devolves to today where we are here in the U.S., where everybody has a voice and they're using it for for nonsense, as we are right now.
For poo and fart jokes. And
exactly. And as a newspaper
memes.
guy, what's your commentary on that whole thing?
Well, that's a tough one. I threw in Russia. Here's a world power that is controlling the media. If you say anything against what they're doing in their special whatever conflict it is in Ukraine, it's an automatic 15 years in prison.
Yeah, people don't realize that.
The Arab Spring that you started with was before the government got a handle on what was how social media worked. You can have some smart guys, but social media evolves so quickly that's how that got trumped. You just saw what happened in China. It's like, I'm tired of being locked up. Please, this COVID thing you have got to let me loose. So that even goes back to Tiananmen Square, where the guy's standing in front of the damn tank. They know what freedom can bring to them.
Yeah.
In this country, if you stifle any kind of freedom, you see it with the AR-15s and what they're doing, and how there's the faction of we don't need that kind of weapon, and yes, it's my Second Amendment rights that I can have this weapon. It's always a balance. It's all, and we're a community newspaper. We don't talk national news. We have a state feed, but we don't get into that national news feed.
How do you rectify kind of that journalistic integrity, trying to be neutral, and personal opinions, or maybe one of your writers has an opinion and they want to write a story about the Second Amendment or whatever.
Right. I mean,
do you struggle with that? Is that an issue?
It is, and that's why, I mean, we're in an open office, and we, if you're struggling with a subject matter, we talk it out. Yeah, it's a balancing act. Your bias, you have to check your bias at the door.
Yeah.
I was a very angry person during the Trump administration, and I got ripped. I would put stuff on Facebook, and people my partners would say, "Stop doing that." And I go, "Wait a minute, that's my page. I can say what the hell I want. You check the Republic Times Facebook feed or the website, and you'll see we're pretty well checked." But I mean, if the President of the United States, with his bully pulpit, could say whatever the hell he wanted without being fact-checked, no, that ain't right.
Yeah.
That's not right. So
I would imagine you get backlash on all sides of every aisle. So.
Right. We're not doing enough. We're doing too little.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you promoting that?
Tell them to come in here and fill out an application.
Yeah. Anytime you want to write a letter to the editor, that's my fallback. Write a letter to the editor. We will publish it. I'm giving you that opportunity.
You should do it, Jared.
Why would you go on a brewery's podcast? What's wrong with you?
Right. Yeah. No,
you knew they were going to ask you dumb questions.
I did my homework. You guys are very fair and balanced. I love it. I love it. And I want to see Chris drink some more.
I was going to say, I hate to derail the conversation, but we got a couple bottles on the
very
table here.
Well,
that
this was on the list of I got to get rid of this bourbon.
Yeah.
This is Malort.
we can
part
get rid
of the
of
handshake.
Hey, that bourbon is good.
Anybody that hasn't tasted Malort needs to be doing that.
Now, what's the handshake? That's the Chicago handshake?
Yeah.
Kevin, you're Chicago.
Well, the Chicago handshake is code for Malort in an old style, basically. it's a shot and a beer. And it's,
I can't give you old style, but it looks like we got Malort tonight.
No, but Malort, the company is based out of Chicago, and the Shield logo has the Chicago flag colors.
Oh,
it's only got 3 of the stars. There's 4 on the Chicago flag.
They only decided to throw 3 in there?
Yeah, apparently. I'm not sure why. That'd be a good trivia question for somebody.
Well, we don't have any old style, but what's your worst beer, Chris?
Wait. There are no worse beers here. They're all
wasn't that a previous episode?
You don't want me to answer. Yeah, we've already done this. Wasn't it Blackberry Lager?
Poured out a tank of
Blackberry Lager?
Yeah, Blackberry.
I stay away from food.
You need some help there. Kevin's
trying to try and get this
I'll do
bottle
play-by-play here. Kevin
There we
is
go.
manipulating the bottle of Malort.
Decapping the Malort.
You've got 4 fresh glasses here. I don't want anything else to taint the flavor of this Malort here. So I've never had this before. I've seen
That's
the...
plenty. That's plenty.
I know.
That'll be a
need
struggle
much
to get that.
Okay, tell me again, Chris, what is this?
It's
This
supposed
isn't
to be the world's grossest... It's Carl Jepsen's grandma's sweetest Swedish liqueur.
liqueur. So is this not classified as a whiskey or what is it?
Think of it
What's
sort
the
of
proof
like
on it?
like Jägermeister, but
Okay.
but worse.
It's very light colored. I noticed
is,
Kevin
yes.
poured a heavy pour.
I did. I can't even read that. It's darkening. Can you see what that the proof is on there?
70 proof. 70 proof. So it's not all that. I mean, bourbon has to be at least 80 proof.
So it's a lot of
Oh, that smells terrible.
Swedish country.
It smells
This
like
is brewed-
fingernail polish
plant-
remover.
It's very very plant based.
It's distilled from
Plant-based.
lutefisk.
Yes.
So I guess
Ein, zwei,
dry.
drei,
Yeah.
drink.
Down the hatch. What are you doing sipping that?
Oh, okay.
That's supposed to be all
a couple of us drank the whole thing.
Oh.
Chris and I are making
That's
faces.
what you're supposed to do
Well,
is slam it.
Okay, hold on.
If it was delicious, I wanted to have some more to.
I will-
guess we
it's
have the
not-
now
whole
that I
it's not
know, I will
delicious.
slam it.
He's looking for tasting notes, and it's Nike.
Yeah.
That one hurts my
Nike tennis shoes.
hurts my tongue.
All right, let's do it again, Chris.
It's far, it's
Count us
far
off.
from delicious.
All right, I will. I don't want to.
You gotta,
3, 2, 1.
You make the pain short by just slamming that sucker. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No.
It's a punishment shot at
Wow.
the Republic Times.
That is not
And
no bueno.
It's got a
That's a thing
it's
to
got a
try.
solvent flavor to it. You know, it's like
It has the most bitter.
it's
There's
like
a
rubbing
acrid
alcohol.
aftertaste.
solvent
something
flavor. That's
there,
good.
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm learning to
That's-
critique this stuff doing this podcast.
That's just terrible. So the back of the bottle reads, Jepson's Malort has the aroma and full-bodied flavor of an
Of
unusual
acetone.
botanical. Its bitter taste, is savored by two-fisted drinkers.
See what I'm saying?
This is a Chicago thing?
That
It is.
big time.
Okay.
They
There's
can
more-
leave it in Chicago.
Makes
More
sense.
bottles of Malort sold in
Take this
Cook
back to the
County
office, Kermit.
than anywhere in the country.
Wow.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I know.
yeah.
And it's like it's a greeting. You know, you'll
It's pretty terrible.
you'll go to a bar or you go to a party or something, and
There's patrons here
and
asking about it.
somebody will pour you a Malort shot,
Really?
and give you a beer, and you got to kind of do it because it's you're obligated.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
It's a
And they're all watching you as you go.
Right.
Gag.
a gesture.
Kind of like tonight.
Yeah, so I remember
That's okay.
a friend of
making
mine,
faces, are
his dad was a very typical Chicago blue collar guy, and you'd go over to this guy's house, and his dad. It could be 10 in the morning on a Thursday, and his dad would be like, "Hey, how you doing? You want a shot in the beer?" And it was always shot in the beer. And it wasn't
Shot
always
in the beer.
Malort. A lot of times it was vodka or it was hard stuff. But
You
shot
guys
in the
should
beer
see Chris right now.
was a thing. Yeah, he's trying to sand his tongue now, I think.
Gross.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Now, I was making fun of Old Style earlier, but we had
You
it
wanna,
at
chaser
Kevin's
it?
garage, and I liked it. I would
We'll
drink
wrap
Old
up.
Style
Right.
Old
anytime.
Styles, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I
I
actually
would drink
Light.
that with this to get rid of this taste.
You wash it down,
and then
yeah.
have some
And
Old
I
Style.
noticed
Literally
no
any
one else
beer.
had beer to chase it down.
No,
with.
I was
I was
empty,
out,
I know.
so I
yeah.
had this lingering
is ice.
horrible flavor in my mouth.
savor it. Which, by the way, in the garage fridge, I have a 6-pack of Schlitz in there right now. So.
Do you
Good
really?
man,
Oh, yeah.
good man.
Yeah.
I grew up on Schlitz.
Yeah, it's the beer
That's
that
my-
made Milwaukee
yeah.
famous.
Have to do another remote.
It's available in Redbud now.
Oh, yeah.
At a liquor store there.
I'll go find it. That was my high school beer.
Yeah, so there's a great Schlitz story. I don't know if we told this one here or not, but the Schlitz, back in the day,
Tongue is on fire.
yeah, he'll be all right. Back in the day, the drinking age was 18 in Wisconsin.
Louisiana was 18.
Yeah, it was 21 in Illinois, and a lot of my relations that were 18 years old at the time would cross the border into Wisconsin and go drink. And the Schlitz brewery had a tour with tastings, and you could go through, and at the end of the tour, they had a tap room, and you could drink as much as you want, as much Schlitz as you want.
In 20 minutes.
Well, no, the problem was when you'd go to the bathroom, the door would lock the other way. You couldn't get back in, right? So my uncles would have these competitions. It was like trying to be an astronaut. They would drink as much as they can and hold it.
Pressure's on. Pressure's on.
Because once you're through that door, the party's over. What do you say?
Oh, their bourbon is so much better.
He just had
So-
a big sigh of relief.
I had nothing to wash that down with. So Kermit also brought
is lingering.
brought Jepson's. So Jepson's does Malort, and then they also do a bourbon. But I know for a fact because my sales guy told me their bourbon is distilled by MGP in Indiana, which is a very well respected distillery. So the bourbon's actually really good.
It is. It is.
And
Redeeming
so,
factor there.
yeah, so I'm drinking the bourbon now, and thank God that's here.
Chasing
Yes.
a Malort with a bourbon.
Yes.
Good go. Good to
So
go.
I do need to ask, because I'm enjoying one of the bourbons of the week here
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
today, which is Dynamite.
Yes, you've
What
got.
is what is today's
It is
current?
good.
Well, we're doing the clean out the closet week, but you in particular have Still 630 from St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
You have their bourbon,
It's very good.
Missouri bourbon. Yeah, so that's Still 630. That's right by Busch Stadium in the
I was
old
going to say
Hardee's
that's downtown.
building.
Yes, I
Yep.
know exactly
Yeah.
where that is. Yeah,
Really cool place. Really good people.
I've been
in
wanting
there.
to visit there.
You should. It's
Okay.
it's a fun experience. It's a tiny little
Interesting.
place,
Yeah.
but the owners are there. They're there to hang out, and
Nice.
it's a great place.
They make some good stuff.
Yeah,
This
that
is
bourbon
enjoyable,
is really
yeah.
good. Yep.
And
Now,
you know,
if you can, I know we're running out of time here. Can you briefly
Really? I thought we were going to wrap this up in 45 minutes.
can you briefly explain
Time
the
flies,
cleaning out the closet? Bourbon of the week
I can.
concept.
So when we have too many bourbon bottles, or I don't know. Sometimes we basically max out our shelf space. So when
Yeah.
we want to put something new on the shelf, one bottle on means one bottle has to come off.
Yeah.
So a lot of times that one that I decide to take off because it hasn't moved in a while or whatever, that goes in a box, and when the box starts overflowing, then it becomes let's clean out the liquor cabinet.
yeah, and then the cool thing is, these are not like bottom of the barrel, if
Right.
you will.
Oh, no. No. It's all good stuff.
It's all
Yeah.
good stuff.
I
yeah.
just don't literally have room for them
Right.
anymore. So we still kept the Rally Point Rye on. I love Still 630's Rally Point Rye. It's so good. So we still have that. But yeah,
Now, a slightly confusing thing, though, and I've seen this from customers and even myself a little bit.
you can't pick.
You've got a list
Yes.
of like 6 or
Has
10
to
or
go
12.
in order. The idea is to
and they scratch them out
empty
as they go.
bottles.
But it almost like, okay, I got a shot of the first one.
Yeah, so you can go
now
to the
I
next
give me
one.
the second
No,
one,
no,
and
no.
they're like, no.
In
We got to
order
run out of the first one.
You need to make your buddies drink
Yeah,
it too,
exactly.
and then you'll get to the.
So you can't do 2 shots in a
Yeah.
row of the same thing.
Yeah.
Or 2 drinks.
Oh, you can do
So
the
the point
same
is,
thing, but
come
you
back
can't-
every day because you
Yes,
don't know. If you're
that's
waiting for
right.
that 5th one,
Yes.
you better
Oh, I
come
gotcha.
back.
The
So
bottle has to be completely empty before
Yeah.
we move to the next bottle.
Yeah, so
that's
you're
the
only
thing.
selling the
Yeah.
one bottle today until
Yes.
it's gone. Then
Until it's gone. Then we
tap
move-
the next
yeah.
one.
So- Exactly.
So my one and done club, we went through 2 tastings of the bourbon of the week,
Yep.
the Jepson, and then whatever it was below
Oh,
that.
wow.
I can't read it, but
Nice.
Yeah, so we
Jepson's was the one you just had,
Jepson's
right?
bourbon
Yeah.
was the last one to get crossed off.
it's
Actually,
such a coincidence that
and then Kermit brings a full bottle.
I brought
here.
it in. Yeah,
There you
Well,
go.
I didn't get it when it was the bourbon of the week, so I'm going to try it.
Yeah, you ought to.
tonight.
It's
it's
actually
not. No,
good.
it's not available. It's scratched off.
No, I'm
You're
going to
gonna
try
have
it
to
right
have
here.
this.
Yeah.
Thank God I brought it in
Thank
for
you.
you, Jared.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank God.
Yes.
All right.
You
Hold
can
on.
leave the Malort at the office next time, though. This will be Kermit's only podcast appearance if he keeps bringing Malort.
Oh,
You
you'll
had
be-
this sample you said you had
I
never
did.
had.
I did. I said I would like to
I'm
sample
gonna
it.
It's brutal.
charge
That's-
you up.
That's tough.
It's like a,
That's why everybody in Chicago's all pissed off, right?
Well, no, because they,
Yeah, they're
they
drinking
chase it right
Malort
away.
every day.
It sells a lot of old style.
It sells a lot of old stuff. I can see that.
Oh, Kevin.
Well, I mean, you drink the Malort and you got to wash it down with 2 or 3.
Give me 2 or 3, like now.
2 or 3,
Cans of
Like
old
now.
style. Yeah, knock the taste out of your
That's
mouth.
too funny.
My dad used to have some wonderful sayings, and one of them was, "Yeah, the dog's licking his rear end to get the taste out of his mouth." You know,
After he
Nasty.
tried Malort. Was your old man into Malort back
no,
in the
but
day?
he was into the
No.
style.
Yeah,
he drank
yeah.
a lot of old
A
style.
lot of the style.
Yeah. My dad used to drink interesting stuff. He drank Dickel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Bourbon or Tennessee whiskey, yeah.
Yeah, he drank some. I got to remember what kind of brandies he would drink. He drank, seasonal stuff.
Seasonal. Okay.
One time, he used to drink a lot of gin and squirt. That was his drink.
Yeah, I like
Gin
that.
and squirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bet that'd be good.
Or tonic.
It was good. It was a squirt guy, and I remember one time I came home from college, and I went to go raid his liquor cabinet, and I opened the door, and there's a bottle of gin with a Post-it note that had a circle with a line through it, and the word "no" written on it. So apparently
That was no bueno, huh?
no, I think
Oh.
my mom kind of put the
Oh, your
kibosh
mom
on it.
put that on there.
Stay away.
Or they knew Kevin was coming.
No, it wasn't for me, man.
That's awesome.
I think he had a big experience. My mom said you got to throttle back on that.
Too many
there.
martinis on that
Yeah,
gin.
too many squirts, I guess. And
Squirt has been under the
awesome.
radar
I love
beverage
squirt.
over the years. Yeah, you don't hear much about it.
you don't hear much about it, but you know what's really cool are the vintage squirt coolers.
Really?
They do it. It's a yellow steel cooler.
Okay.
And there used to be a logo was a kid. It was like a little. And
Yeah.
it's a squirt.
Right,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I know that.
Those
That's
little coolers, if you find one, they're like big money.
gold mine.
Really?
All right.
Gold mine.
Yeah.
I'll keep my eyes open.
One more question, Chris, real fast. I did see on the social of the Stubborn is that you were promoting the Speakeasy for rent,
Yeah.
which is awesome. It's the downstairs. I don't know. Have we ever talked about the Speakeasy on this show?
We probably
Touched
have
on it,
talked
maybe?
about it, but we need to bring it up again. And
Sure.
we need to do an episode down there.
Yeah,
That'd
we
be
should
fun.
just podcast down there. We could all
Yeah.
dress up
It
in
would-
our 1920s stuff.
Yes, let's do it.
we wouldn't have any of the ambient, though. It's
Well,
oftentimes
it,
quiet.
It would be quiet
It'd be very quiet.
unless we just invite a bunch of people down there.
we
Let's
could do that too.
We could do a studio audience.
Open it up. Yes.
Have everyone
Yes.
clap on command.
We just put a PA system up. And
Right. Clap
Oh.
on demand.
We need an applause sign.
Applause, people.
So what's the deal?
Oh yeah, we rent out our basement. It's called the Speakeasy, and so over COVID, I learned how to do wallpaper, and we remodeled it a little bit, and we.
Did you say you learned how to do
Yeah,
Learn how to
that
do
was a
wallpaper.
COVID project for me.
COVID.
So,
a COVID skill.
Yeah, so before it was just kind of like, here's some extra space. We
Yeah.
put the extra tables that we didn't use up here down there, and nothing really fit anywhere. The colors clashed. It was just kind of like, here's some old antique stuff. Here's some brand new state of the art junk, and it's like, so now we kind of focused and made it a speakeasy. So it holds all of our barrel aged beers down there. So we got a bunch of barrels. It's got this old bar that was actually with the building.
Cool.
We set that up down there, and yeah, so you can rent it out. It's like $150 for a half a 5-hour party or whatever. We can do a bartender with it as well. We have draft beer down
Spring
there.
for the private bartender, which I
Or-
highly recommend.
Or we can do no bartender. It's whatever your party wants.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's just kind of a fun laid back. We have people that, since it's a speakeasy, they'll dress up in the 20s, 30s.
Nice.
And you'll do the
flapper stuff and all
password
that.
at the door and everything.
Yeah. We've
Yep.
got the door with the I don't know,
cool.
the little mini
the
door
full
in a door.
experience.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool. Where you can yodel into it like on Beer
You
Fest.
can yodel into it.
The,
Now,
the
I did-
Bishop of Belleville has been in the Speakeasy, but
Yeah,
it was
that's
before
right.
before the Speakeasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had my 40th birthday down there before it was
You're
classified
that
as
old. I
the
didn't-
speakeasy.
no,
Oh,
you
yeah.
were much younger.
Oh.
You got a break on the rate then. It
Yes.
went up
no, I
since we
didn't.
had to
They
do
charged
wallpaper.
me full price, let me tell you. But this summer, I'm going to be 45, and I'm definitely having number 45 in the speakeasy.
I
So-
had my 45th in the Speakeasy.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a great. It was a
That was a
complete,
good one.
It was
I
a
was there for
complete
that.
surprise.
Nice.
100%. I had no idea that this
Really?
was coming. Yeah, and
Wow. That would've been a
it-
good time,
It hit
yeah.
me like a ton of bricks. Friends from all over, from
Yep.
Yeah, that was
Chicago
cool.
came down, and all around. It was a great time. No, it's a good room down there.
It's
Thanks.
great. Yes, definitely rent it out. And it doesn't have to be a major event. You can just
We do a lot
Rent
of
it out for whatever.
birthdays. We'll do even just like family get-togethers.
Yeah,
that kind of
exactly.
How
thing.
many people can you pack in there?
Yeah, well, we've packed like
Legally, how you supposed to.
Legally, yeah.
COVID. Yeah, it was like shoulder to shoulder. You can get 60 down there.
Perfect.
Like,
there's plenty of room. Yeah.
but yeah, and then probably Kevin's party was about 60.
Oh, every bit of it. Yeah.
But yeah, to sit, if everyone has to sit and
Yeah.
eat a meal next to each other, whatever, 30 to 35-ish is about max.
But there's a place where you can bring your own food and
Yes,
set
there's
it
a
up.
food ledge there.
You've got the bar. There's
Then
plenty
there's
of
the bar
seating.
also. Yeah.
It's awesome. And if you want to get away from like honestly, right now it's a Friday night. It's busy in here.
It's
It's
packed. There's
I
stuff
love
going
it,
on.
but there's some people that don't love it and they want to get away from that.
Right.
It's the perfect place.
Well,
Just
and then
go downstairs.
You'd know everybody here if you
Yeah,
had your own party in the
exactly.
basement.
For sure. Yeah.
It's awesome. Definitely rent it out.
Well, it was nice to see the promotion of it because I know it has evolved into
Yeah.
the Speakeasy from just.
Yeah. Yes.
In fact, the sign on the door says the cellar, and then the Speakeasy below it.
All right.
I think he needs to get his carpenter
Yeah,
tools
we need to
out,
get the,
get Don to put a peephole.
or we need to just make a bigger sign, like 1 inch bigger. Each way.
There you go.
Go right over that. We're on it. Next.
So, Kermit, if somebody wants to support the paper, what's the best thing they can do?
You can visit republictimes.net. There's right on the website it says subscribe. So that's the easiest way. Or you can call me anytime, 618-939-3814. We'll all take your money.
We will all take your money.
We will all take
And
your money.
thank you for supporting community journalism.
Yeah.
Or you could go right into the office and probably just pay right there, get a shot of
Absolutely.
Malort.
Yeah. Well, you have to do something wrong to get a shot of Malort.
Oh,
I have a tab on my browser on my phone open all the time of the Republic Times, and I
Thank you.
refresh it every day, just waiting for the news, the news stories to come in,
waiting
and
for the next accident in Columbia to happen.
that is the move.
Cash City, USA.
Yes.
But Jared, I think in
Yes.
the next couple weeks you're going to see some pretty riveting stories.
All right,
Just
I'm ready.
Stay
I can't
with
wait.
me.
All right,
Stay with
I'll
me.
I can't wait.
I'm going to keep refreshing.
I'm on
Well,
pins and needles.
And I have to thank you guys. You've dedicated editorial to our little business and my
Yeah.
wife and I in the past, and it was
You're,
cool.
you're a national story.
I don't know about that,
No,
but
you are.
it was cool to hear how many people read that, and that's what's always fun.
You
Hey,
know,
I saw it in the
if you're
paper.
looking for suggestions, there's this little podcast that's
Always.
just blowing up, and there's local business.
It's blowing anyway.
Oh yeah, it blows.
If I get good reviews, we'll probably write about it.
Yes, right.
I see how this works.
Oh, jeez.
No bias.
But really, what your readers want to know about is the German word of the day.
For sure.
Yes. The German word of the day today was...
And you don't have to wait for the next edition to come out.
No, it's right now. It was Zeitung.
Zeitung.
Telescope.
Isn't it Japanese?
It sounds a little Japanese.
It does sound Japanese. So Zeitung is actually spelled Zeitung.
I'm thinking of Mao Zedong.
Yeah.
Chinese.
That's TSO. That's TSO. That's General So's chicken.
Well, no,
I was different.
Mao Zedong was a Chinese dictator.
Right.
Yeah.
What will I win?
I just like
That's
his
what I
chicken.
wanna
know. Yeah.
Anyway, Kermit says
Anyway,
a
he said.
telescope. Jared said it means sight reading. And Kevin said it's strep throat.
Yes.
Strep.
Of course it is.
That's far out, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Guess what? It means newspaper.
Are you?
That was
I figured he knew what it meant.
He's back to that trick.
When Kermit looked me
Newspaper.
square in the eye and said, I
I
know
know
what that
this.
means.
I know what
knowing
that means.
that he
I thought it was
owns a
over.
newspaper and he spent time in Germany, I'm like, I am screwed.
Here we are.
That was a fifth-year word.
And then he says telescope. I'm like, yeah!
Zeit is read, and I didn't pick up on it, but
Chris
that-
could hardly
very
contain
good.
himself.
That is fantastic.
But I know how to play the game. I listen to the podcast.
man.
Don't feel bad.
The Codcast. So Chris deviated from that guest theme word
He
of the
did,
day thing for a
yeah.
little while.
Way to
Yes,
go,
I
Chris.
did.
And the evil genius has returned.
I had to throw him off a little.
I think the key here is you got to have him spell it.
Don't feel bad. Kevin is the leader on the leaderboard, and he's only gotten it twice. So
Wow.
Since day one.
Wow.
And has anybody else? I'm alone on the leaderboard, right?
I got it
Oh, you won.
once.
You won
I got it
Yeah,
once.
right.
I'm sure we probably had someone else that got it.
Yeah.
You guys are very talented.
We are. That's why we're here, Chris.
Well, Kermit, we appreciate you sharing some time with us and all the stuff that you do at the paper and the whole staff over there. And we appreciate the dedication to spreading the word in a non-biased, truthful, researched manner. It's needed. It's appreciated. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you,
And-
Kermit.
And in German,
This
you
was
would
fun.
say "sehr gut." Thank you
Sehr
very much.
gut, yeah.
Very good.
Except for the Malort.
Except for the Lord. No good. Nein good.
That's called nicht gut.
Nicht gut.
All right.
So this has been the Stubborn German Podcast. If you like this show, go ahead and click that subscribe button. It's cheap. It's free, actually. You just click it. It doesn't take anything. And then just like Kermit's newspaper, this will arrive in your mailbox digitally before you even know it. So we invite you to do that. And we're going to close in our traditional way for Mr. Chris, Ron, Jared Chasson, and Kermit Constantine. We say, as he pours himself something, we say
There
this
it is.
every
We say
single time,
every
and we hold up a
time.
glass. We say, Prost.
Prost. This one?
Do you want it louder? Or
Yeah,
softer?
louder. There we go. Now I can hear. I know, it's noisy in here.
It
It is.
It's ambient.
booming.
What the heck's going on in here?
They heard
Yeah.
I was coming on tonight.
Oh,
sure. There's a huge
the
crowd.
Kermit
You're going to have to
episode.
give up some of your autograph pens.
I
to
will.
Kermit.
I will, yeah.
For sure.
We are recording, by the way.
Oh, no.
Oh, right on.
Oh, here we go. Podcast.
That's what this is.
Yes.
You're the techie? I thought Jared was the techie.
He is.
Yeah, but...
He's
there
always
we
got
go.
to get his German word of the day ready.
Jared, you got to make me sound as good as
Oh, yeah.
Kevin.
Don't worry.
All right? Can you do that? I hate to hear my voice. Make it sound better.
It'll sound great.
He's got a thing over there that can make me sound smarter, so you'll be
Yes.
fine.
It's a smart button.
It's a filter.
All right.
You almost ready over there?
I think I am ready. Yep.
All right.
Let her rip, tater chip.
Tater chip. Good stuff.